Like I was actually ahead of the game a little bit. So it's a one-button click to get us there. And look at that, we're streaming. I can hit my little go live. I thought I had a go live button. Maybe they stopped. Oh, maybe they finally got rid of the go live button that was totally ridiculous. So good on them.
I just got the push notification on my phone.
Sweet. It used to be like you had to start streaming and then you had to hit the go live button, and I missed it one time, Sherwin. I don't know if you remember, but it was like mid-stream. People were like, hey, what's going on? So
I do. I don't know how long ago it was, but I do remember that. I remember we talked about it like in the middle of the show, and you're like, hold on a second.
I got to mash me a button.
Man. The title says Karaoke King. Man, I miss it so much.
Dude, I got it in the show sheet to talk about that because I'm like,
I like that.
Golly, of all the things, of all the experiences, of everything that we could do, or that we had planned on doing, I'll talk about it on the show, whatever. but that's one. Yeah. Cool. Let's see here. I think I've got Sydney Let up. Yep, I've got that up. I've got that up. I've got that up. I've got a bare bones show sheet, as is tradition with PETM. We just wing it for most of it. And we know when we have a good guest like CJ, we don't really have to go too crazy. Let's see here. And
all right, let me go ahead and get this fired up and get the mute button on. There we go.
Boom. There we go. We are up and running. We got Roger. We got Jumpy Bob. Hi, Bob. Drink. Dig it. Cool. All right. We got some folks hanging. Good to see y'all. CJ's on the line.
Hey, everybody.
Woo.
College throwback to watching Newhart. I don't even know what that is, Roger. You're going to have to help me out. Am I the only one?
I think so. This is me coming from this wasn't my generation, obviously, because me and Sherwin are the same one of that and everybody. But I believe there was a drinking game on Newhart is Bob Newhart's show, and every time somebody says "Hi, Bob," I think that was it.
Oh, that makes sense.
Don't ask.
I have heard of Bob Newhart.
Yeah.
I'm kind of pop culture challenged, as it turns out.
You know what's funny is I'm, and Sherwin knows this, I am like actor and actress challenged. I have no clue. Folks could walk in front of me and that's okay, sure. But
if that drinking game applied to real life and I had to do a shot every time someone said "Hi, Bob" or something, Bob, as much as I work with the Bob Pockris, I would just spend my entire life sloshed. Like, was literally like the guy never stops. It is impressive and also really disheartening at the same time because like there's two of us on the social team. It's myself and then Josh that I work with, and Bob I think works more than both of us combined, man. Like, and I thought I worked a lot. Like, there's nothing like. It's all the time, nonstop, 7 days a week, man, 26 hours a day. It's crazy.
And you know what's cool is that he never looks stressed about it either. Like we've walked by him before after having already met him that day, and he's writing something down and he's in a hurry to get somewhere. And, I'll just say, "Hey, Bob," just walking by him, and he looks up and, "Hey guys, good to see you. All right. Have fun. We'll see you later." Not like, "Hey guys," and gone. It's just like, man, I can't imagine how many times that happens to him.
He's the perpetual journalist, if that makes sense. Like, you know how they say you've got to have a cool head and you got to stay, in the newsroom when something crazy breaks or when a crazy news story hits, you got to stay focused. You got to keep your head in it. You can't let it get to you. There have been stories where I've been freaking out and just not really but just like razzled a little bit just because something crazy just hit and we got to cover it. Never seen that from Pockers. Never seen it. It's impressive.
He's probably already rattling through the questions in his mind on, okay, here's what I need to ask. Here's who I need to talk to and blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah.
Well, like Kenny May, and he's as cool as the other side of the pillow. That's is right. That's Stuart Scott, isn't it?
Rest
his soul.
Oh, man. That's funny. All right, fellas, y'all ready to get this shoe on the road?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, CJ, you know how it is. I'll disappear for about a minute and a half here, and then I'll be back, and I'll introduce Sherwin on, and then I'll bring you on. So off we go.
For me.
Let's see. We are recording. Well, I better get the notes up, although I've done it 253 times, so I should be able to remember at least the first part. All right, here we go. Recording now. Welcome, yo! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mare Racing Podcast, episode number 254. It's Tuesday, August 4th, 2020. I'm Tailgate Mare Rusty Wallace. I'm in the PTM Podcast studio. We'll bring on the rest of the show hosts tonight. Before we do, y'all know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. Go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the Witch Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get that free koozie. Get some stickers. The best part is every cent this year, we are donating once again to sponsoring drivers at some point once we can get out of the house. So join the PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show brought to you by our official sponsors at that $5 and up per month level. Here we go. Aaron Bearden, Robert Keplinger, Coleman McClam, Eric Kepner, Ryan Kiefer, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brendan Krog, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Rika Porter, John Bob, Les Miller, Julie Bosley, Eddie Greer the Third, Younger Motorsports, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Crystal Smoke, Fred Rosado, Chad Knappett, Stacey Coleman, Lisa Chinana, Rick Houston, Sarah Ann Barry, Evan Roller, Brad Harrison. I gotta take a breath. Matthew Bishop, Matthew Camper, Harry Bolzania, and Evan Jones. Well, it just wasn't my night for one breather. But I don't need just one breath for tonight anyway. I don't know what any of that means. Whatever. From the PTM North Carolina studio, welcome onto the show. Pregame engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
That's right. Just another Tuesday night up here in upstate North Carolina.
There it is. That's right. Yeah. Week number 3, I believe, for you in that setting, huh?
Yep. Week 3.
Excellent. Well, sir.
Week 3 until I migrate on down to Mooresville. We'll see. I gotta go find me an apartment.
Get to work on that.
I know.
Our guest tonight, very special guest, multi-time PETM PhD, senior associate producer for Motorsports Social and short form for NASCAR on Fox. He's on Twitter at NASCAR on Fox and at CJ Welliver. It's CJ Welliver. What's up, dude?
Hey guys, how's it going? Thank you so much for having me back. I think already, like just from the pre-show and then a little bit of the actual official show we've done now, this is the most outside contact with anyone other than family that I've had in 4 or 5 months, something like that. So trust me, this is a good break from the quarantine. So I like it. It's great to be back.
I believe it. Yeah. It's day to day, week to week, and what do we talked about it with somebody, Sherwin. There was that meme that had the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and the question was like, what day is it? For $1 million, what day is today? I don't know.
Well, I had a whole bunch of days in a row that just were days that ended with Y. I can tell you that.
Right. CJ, you know how
the only thing that keeps me appraised of what day we're on is I typically know how far we are from racing. I typically know that, but as far as like the day of the month, I don't think I've known that since April, man.
It's like, well, Tuesday's when I take a shower. Thursday. Gentlemen, you know how we start this show. CJ, what are you drinking tonight?
My favorite. It's a virgin vodka Red Bull, I guess is what you could call it. I've always got one laying around somewhere.
I love it. Sherwin, how about you?
I'm sticking to the bland old same old, just bourbon and ginger.
Nothing bland about that. You got it in the locals cup there, right?
Yeah, my coach's local sports bar I can walk to from the hotel.
Right on. Well done, gentlemen. CJ, you had said right before the show, you had texted over to me and you're like, dude, I've got a new backdrop. We know you moved into a new place. You've got the new backdrop there. You said, I've got PETM in mind on it. Tell us what's up with the backdrop.
Yeah, well, the last time we were on, I think, or the last time I was on, we had moved into the house in Kannapolis 3 or 4 days before. I didn't have Wi-Fi set up. We barely had any furniture in here, and I was downstairs in just kind of the guest. We have sort of my wife's office right off the kitchen. I was in there, and it was literally a white wall. Well, the smaller guest room upstairs has been converted into my new cubicle because I haven't seen my real life cubicle now in a while. It's been, been away from the office, working from home. So I had all this stuff. Like, I have accumulated so much NASCAR memorabilia over, the last 30 some odd years. And so I had it all in this trunk that I'd never really, in an apartment, you don't really have a whole lot of space to decorate just because. I mean, you hang up photos of the family, and then you got a one bedroom, and the wife doesn't really want everything in that to be NASCAR, I don't think. So I was decorating in here. I hung up the hats. I put out the die cast. I put out the Harvick helmet, which is over there, which makes me really proud and happy. But when I was setting it up, and Jess was helping me, and I was just like, no, I got to make sure that it looks cool from where we're going to set the desk so that I have a cool backdrop when I'm on the podcast. And it was fun. Like I said, the podcast, and she knew what I was talking about.
Podcast,
so
right
I guess it's a pretty regular thing around here. Like, there are several other podcasts I guess I could have been referring to, but no, she knew which one I was talking about. So yeah, I got it all put together for you guys, and I'm proud of it. So if you look too, if you screen grab my window right now, I think you could count at least 8, maybe 9 Fox logos in the background. So if anybody can spot all of them, tell me. I realized that one day, and there's a bunch of them back there.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
It's a weird Where's Waldo of of Fox logos.
Yeah.
I send him a hat if somebody can circle them all. CJ, the last time we talked to you, it was like back in the innocent and fun days of quarantine. It was week number 4 on PTM 238. Here we are, old, seasoned veterans of the quarantine and staying at home. Have you seen the videos online? There's the day 1 versus day 50 of COVID.
Yeah, and I'll be like, it's so weird how it works. It's like 1 week, you'll be great, and you're like, oh, I'm going to get so much stuff done, and then, not even like just the first week, but like 2 weeks ago, man, I was productive and getting everything done and putting patio furniture together and stuff, and then like you'll hit another week, and it's literally just, I have watched 12 shows on Netflix today. Like, I finished an entire season of the Umbrella Academy in like a day and a half. So it varies really hard. I'm doing good though. The podcast is definitely helping me on this particular quarantine week.
Well, good. I'm glad we can bolster the productivity, and we'll let Fox know that, hey, every time you have a guest from Fox on, you get double productivity. So how about that?
Exactly. And it's so funny, man. Like, so we had a break, there for a few days. Once we came back after, NASCAR returned, we went there for a while where it was maybe 3 days in between a race of, either Cup, Xfinity, or trucks. And we just went so hard there for so long. And then we kind of had a break over the last week. I mean, we had a Sunday off, which was wild. And then we didn't race again until the next Sunday. So we had 7 days of no NASCAR action, which someone that works in the sport, you would assume like, oh, you get days off or whatever. Man, by like Saturday around noon, I was like, I need something. Like, we need to go racing. Like, I feel like an actual adult human being when we race, because I feel like I actually have a productive job I have to do. So it's bad. I really hope this intense quarantine is over by the off season, because if I got to start counting down with Larry Mack, like, 128 days or something like that, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I got a text from our buddy Brandon up at Lap Traffic, and he's like, "Hey, where's my truck race?" That was like Friday night. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know not this week, I reckon.
So I think my favorite part, I think there's several of them now. This day 1 versus day 50 or day 100 of quarantine or something. And on day 1, the guy was like, "Oh, I'm gonna start my own starter for sourdough bread." And then it switches to day 50, and he's like in sweatpants. He hadn't taken a shower in 2 weeks, and he's yelling at somebody off camera and he's screaming like, "Have you fed the starter today? What's wrong with you?" Oh man, I love it. There's a bunch of those. It's really good. Well, CJ, seeing as how everything's moved on to that, that other network with the Peacock and all that, does that mean calming down for you or ramping up?
It's. I mean, I think I've always that's been your first question after NBC takes over for the past 2-3 years.
I feel like I've asked that a few times.
It just transitions, right? And this year, and I mean, it's a valid question because this year it's all been so different.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never watched this many. I haven't watched this many races from home since before college. I mean, I would always end up at a race every 5 or 6 cup races I would go. This is right now the longest I have gone without being at an attendance for a NASCAR race in my adult life. I'd always end up at one. I mean, there was always like Bristol and then Martinsville, and then, we'd go back to Bristol or we go to Atlanta, something like that. So it's been a different kind of change. We have to really do things a little different during the NBC portion of the season. I have no problem saying the other network, they're doing a great job this season. It's been great to see them, adapt to the type of coverage that we're doing now. With a lot of people working remote, and a lot of people, basically the booth broadcast not being at the racetrack a lot and that sort of thing. And so it was really cool being able to kind of work with them, I think, because they came to us with a lot with questions and that sort of thing, because we kind of had to learn on the fly as far as getting remote NASCAR production back on track. And they kind of had a little bit of time to prepare for it. And I think accumulatively, the coverage has been outstanding. I mean, between the drone cam footage that Fox had, between having all of the commentators spaced out and really showing that you can still work and social distance at the same time. But it's a lot. We build a lot more images and stuff this time of year because of how our video rights work with NBC. That part's tougher. So we just have to be a little bit more creative about content this time of the year, because during our portion of the season, we can kind of always fall back on live event highlights, and we don't have that during the NBC portion.
Right.
Well, I think one of the things that's been really cool, and I know we're going to touch on this later, so I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but it appears that you guys, you have this working relationship in that, look, this is our section of the year, this is your section of the year. This year it got weird, so maybe we'll collaborate even more than we used to, but there doesn't seem to be any animosity between the groups. And you guys get to be the pioneers on things like you said, the drone cam. That was really cool. I'm sure that probably made a couple people seasick, but I thought it was awesome. It was just such a unique perspective to be able to have. And, if NBC is able to learn anything from that ends up making it better for fans long term, and then you guys get to learn in the off season about the things they did. So when you come back, you get to sort of institute some of the things that you'd like to reapply to the disciplines that they instituted. To me, that's a win-win for the fans. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what everybody probably really wants.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in this together. I mean, and it's what I say all the time when people ask me, like, is there not animosity, but is there like a rivalry or something like that between us at Fox and the NBC team? And of course, I mean, I feel like it'd kind of be like, maybe if anything, maybe like a sibling rivalry. I mean, you live in the same house, but you want to do a little bit better than your brother, something like that. I get that. But if they bring new fans on because their coverage is doing well, then those fans stick around when we come back for Daytona. If we create new fans because we did something innovative with our coverage, they continue watching when it goes to NBC. So them doing well does well for us as well. So I like seeing their coverage do, they do a good job.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, that's really cool. You had mentioned longest stretch without being at the track. I think in 16 years, this is the longest for me, because we would have gone to something by now, Sherwin. That's crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is probably the longest that we've not been to a race, because we haven't been to a race in this, in this calendar year yet. And that's pretty rare that we'd be in month 8 and not having been to, at this point, probably at least 3.
Easy.
And so,
yeah.
and going all the way back to 2008, 2009, somewhere around in there. So we're kind of sitting in the same spot in terms of exposure. Obviously, we don't work in the sport, but it is weird. But you chalk it up, you put a little asterisk behind it, maybe even put a little middle finger there too as your asterisk, and just say, you know what, 2020, you are not friends of ours, and hopefully when this is over, we can just part ways.
Right. Well, let me.
Well, the good thing, what I keep kind of thinking about is there were all these people talking about, when 2020 came along, they were like, it's a new decade. Like we start the new decade off strong in January and February when we thought that was going to happen. But actually, technically, if you think about it, there was no year 0. So the new decade technically starts in 2021. So we can just kind of think of it as that decade ended really poorly, and we can still start a fresh decade really strong.
Yeah, we get a mulligan. I like it.
Well, I'm glad you said that because
that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I'm the kind of nerd that'll say something like that too, and people look at you cross-eyed and you're like, yeah, well, technically 2020 is actually the last year of the 20-teens, so whatever. That doesn't matter. There's no reason to be a stickler about it, but that is the reality. Next year starts a brand new slate,
right?
Yeah. We just, so we had a bad ending to this one. We'll start over in February.
I am definitely the actually guy in my head probably 12 times a day. And maybe it escapes once, but I try not to be that guy.
Well, like Mysterio says in the Spider-Man movie, never apologize for being the smartest guy in the room.
Well, but be aware of when it's important to be the dumbest. And the other thing I would say is there's only I don't participate in any of the grammar police thing anymore unless I think it can turn into a funny joke. But the funny thing I saw, and we're going to get to it later, and so I'll bring it up then. But there's a word people were using yesterday when we got some news that it does matter how you spell this word, what it actually means. So I'll let Rusty take it away from here, and when we get to it, I'll bring that back up.
Well, in the pre-show, we were talking, and Sharon, we said we'd probably be at least 3 different racetracks, if not more, at this point in the season. Going to Atlanta and doing the media thing is always awesome. Darlington, obviously, that would have happened still a month from now. But there would be something in between, whether it's a Bristol or whatever else. But the big one, Talladega, and I named this episode "The King of Karaoke," C.J. Walliver. I would say that the experience that I miss the most right now is that Talladega night and having CJ over singing karaoke with all our friends from Arkansas and Louisiana and doing all that and walking up and down Talladega Boulevard. Last time, Sherwin, I don't know if you remember, I tripped and cut my toe on something to where I had my foot was just blood everywhere.
I do remember that. That'll happen sometimes.
That too.
Yeah. I get back to camp and everybody's, oh my God.
I tell you, that's one of, I've got since I started working in the sport and, evolving from being a diehard fan, I've got so many new traditions that I have, you know what I mean? It's like, you wake up in Daytona and you go check out the huge clock that's behind the Hilton Hotel where we stay on the beach. Like that's where I get up and I go out and I stare at the clock. That's one of my favorite season traditions that I have. Mm-hmm. But one that's really, started sticking out to me, it's the night before the Cup race at Talladega. When I'm there, I hang out with you guys. It's just always that night before the Cup race. I'm like, if I don't do it tonight, I know I got to be back here at like 6 a.m. in the morning, but if I don't do it tonight, I'm not going to get to. And I remember we were walking around and we lost Sherwin for a bit. Remember that? We were walking down the boulevard and me and Rusty turned around and you're just gone. And we didn't see you for like an hour or so. And you showed up, you had been somewhere, you had beads or something. I don't know what you got into. That's going to be like the alternate when the episode airs. That'll be like the alternate vision, view of the episode. But right. It was fun.
Oh man, yeah.
That'll happen sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm sure I should have taken ownership of that, but I probably blamed it on somebody else because that's me.
Yeah, I don't know. We were having fun and hanging out with you guys. And again, I saw you name the episode "The Karaoke King." It's always been so much fun for me. I don't really my mom, she's actually in the chat right now on YouTube, and she can probably attest to this. I've never really had any shame at all ever in my life. Like if somebody says, hey, there's a stage, I may not be that great at what I do on that stage, but I'm gonna do something. There's a hands-on museum in Johnson City, Tennessee. And it's just, I don't know if anybody's ever been to Hands-On or heard of it, but you can kind of just go, and it's a place where you can just kind of let, kids explore and learn in fun ways. And there's just a stage. Like, there's nothing really that they do. There's just a stage that if kids wants to get up and have a moment, they can. Man, I was like 5 years old and went up on that stage, and it birthed a really long passion of mine of being the center of attention. So it might be a character flaw, but I know that's how I am.
I love that you have that.
Hey, own it.
memory.
All you got to do is own it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Confidence is, 90% of it for sure. Fellas, let's talk some NASCAR. It's time to tear it down with the report card. There it is. The big news today, y'all, LFR, Bob Levine, final year, selling off the team and charter. Surprised and bummed out. Sherwin, we had Bob on the show. Such a cool guy, awesome to talk to, and really somebody who you wanted to be long-term in the sport and have that, not just connection, but, he has the connections everywhere. But I don't know what to say. That's a bummer, and it's a bummer of the state of things and all that. But, that sucks.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I suspect that his construction / development endeavors in Texas have probably suffered quite a bit from this. It is definitely hard to manage through this process of people working close hand in hand, and you have to do that in construction and development and everything else. So I hope that's not the reason. I hope it's because he decided, you know what, this is a huge commitment, and I thought we did, as well as we could have with what we had in the process of doing what we did. And now it's just time to move on to what's next in life. Bob's not a young guy, but we're certainly going to miss him. I hope he still shows up on Twitter. I mean, he's absolutely, in terms of an owner, he's probably the best follow on Twitter there is. So if you don't follow Bob, feel free to go do that. And he will interact with you as long as you are cordial, or at least ask a poignant question that doesn't make you sound like you're putting down his process. Mm-hmm. He's going to respond to you, and that's just the way it is. And he's a really neat guy to talk to.
Yeah.
And I think one thing too, I mean, it kind of shows that at all levels, no matter if you're at the top of this sport, if you're at the bottom of this sport right now, this pandemic has really caused a lot of economies and a lot of bank accounts to suffer. And he said, I mean, this was something that he said early in the year. I mean, really before it got as bad as it is right now, he needed to sell like 11 or 12 races. He needed to sell those sponsorships in order to not be pumping such a huge portion of his own personal construction company money to keep the team afloat. And one thing that's, it's just a side effect of profit margins going down. I worked in radio for a long time. One of the first things that companies cut when they have a chance to cut something is sponsorship dollars. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that necessarily is backed up by the best reasoning, but the first thing you can cut and not have to lay off people, not have to turn the lights off, not any of that sort of stuff, is you turn off the commercials. You stop sending those checks. And so it's really hard to find new sponsors in general, but especially during a global pandemic when our economy is kind of taking a hit right now. So I don't think Bob's going to be anywhere near completely gone. I mean, I think once you are as involved in the sport as Bob Levine has been for so long, I think he'll still be around. And I don't know in what way that'll be. But I do think we'll still be able to see him in the garage, and hopefully we do, because I like Bob too.
Yeah. Yeah, you would hope that maybe after all this is said and done, that maybe he finds some sort of partnership to where, he can put some of his relationships with the various and sundry companies. We've seen Procore be a very dominant sponsor on his cars. And what that is that is a project management piece of software that works really well with the development and construction industry, especially at the level that Bob's at, which is, pretty wide scale commercial, like big time construction and land development. And, I hope that he chooses that is the marketing tactic that may work for him, particularly as it applies to Texas. Hopefully we would see him show up and be around the garage at Texas Motor Speedway and that sort of thing.
And I think too, this is probably a really good opportunity for Spire. Now, I don't know exactly how. I know Bob mentioned it in his Fast Thoughts video that he did today, that all signs kind of point to the fact of Spire being the buyer. Now, they're not getting the cars. They're not getting, of course, the JGR alliance in this, but they're getting a lot of the inventory as far as the building and that sort of thing if they do make the purchase. I think that's a good buy for Spire, and I like to see them investing in their team. So who knows? Maybe in a few years the Frankenstein team of Spire and LFR can get up there and be running well. You never know. It's going to move a lot of pieces, but it's something that does unfortunately happen in the sport from time to time.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that makes Spire so unique in a lot of ways compared to some of the other teams, regardless of how big their budgets are, is Spire is a sports management company. And that's why people thought when they got into the sport, wow, this is a really weird sort of situation that we maybe haven't seen before. A sports management company wants to actually own a race team. Now they don't just want to own one race team. They want to own two race teams. And also what you said, CJ, to piggyback the fact that the inventory they're getting is going to be a charter, which has a lot of value, and they're going to be getting a building, and they're probably going to get a lot of sort of manufacturing equipment. But all the cars that Levine Family Racing has been racing with Christopher Bell, those are all loaned JGR cars. So they're going to all go back to JGR. So Spire with his second team is going to have to start over and figure out, okay, who do we build a relationship with? Because they're not going to be set up to build chassis. So they're going to have to buy cars from somebody. So I don't know if that, there's a rekindle that has to take place, or maybe JGR's relationship with LFR was, hey, those are our assets and we lease them to you. So those come back to us if you decide to sell your charter. And that appears to be what it is.
Mm-hmm. So CJ, in the chat, I see some requests for some Robert Palmer. And what's funny enough about that is when
Robert Plant.
Robert Plant. I'm sorry. I thought I saw Robert Palmer.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Lead, baby. Lead.
Okay. Yeah, well, Robert Plant, I would have no chance, sir. Not at all.
Pretty unique.
I used to.
Addicted to Love.
Yeah, I was about to say back in
that's a pretty fun one.
Right? Back in the late 80s, I was a child, and I was running around the house singing Addicted to Love, and I was singing What's Love Got to Do with It? So Tina Turner. So those are my two big ones. I'm sorry I missaw it, but no, I would not be able to sing any Robert Plant. Thank you very much.
That's a tough one.
Fellas, Bubba Wallace has an extension with Richard Petty Motorsports, and it sounds like he's getting some sort of partial ownership, getting a slice of the pie there, which is, I don't know how unique this is or how different this is, but I don't feel like we're hearing that, left and right with other extensions. This is pretty darn significant, CJ.
Yeah, and I think it's a great move for Richard Petty Motorsports. I think a lot of the viability of that team to be more, not just remain as competitive as they are, but to grow and become more competitive is going to be very, very reliant upon their ability to sell sponsorship. It's it's part of it. And we've seen other drivers in that car and the sponsorship not really come along. And when it was with the driver. We saw that kind of with the Smithfield deal and it going with Amarola when he left and went to Haas.
Yep.
So I think this is a way for them to make sure that Bubba is not only, and I think he is anyway, but anywhere that he's going to be, if he's going to be driving, he's going to be invested in that team, if nothing else, because he wants and can run well. But I think it's showing them that they believe in him. It's showing that they want to build their program around him. I mean, this isn't completely new. I mean, it's something we've seen in the past with, Jeff Gordon having an ownership stake, of course, in Hendrick Motorsports. So it's not completely outlandish. It is a little odd considering the fact that, Jeff Gordon was Jeff Gordon. And Bubba Wallace has maybe not had the results that he's wanted over the past few years. But I still think Bubba is it's very early in his career. And I think this is a great move for Richard Petty Motorsports. I kind of questioned it when I saw the news break on whether or not it would be a good idea for Bubba, just because I thought there might be a potential for him to go to a team that's already established. But I think if he can stick around and help RPM grow, it could be something that really benefits both parties somewhere in the future.
Well, the thing I would say is until we actually hear some official thing about that being signed, McDonald's appears to be working strongly behind the scenes to pull their sponsorship away from RPM to drag Bubba to the 42. Mm-hmm. So that's worthy of conversation, probably outside of this podcast, because it is a rumor mill, and rumor mills are what they are. They a lot of times they don't produce a lot of fodder. But I don't think the Bubba thing is totally done yet. I mean, we could talk till we're blue in the face about all the potential available cars. I mean, I'd say the 48's probably still on the block for somebody now that we know Brad signed the 1, and we're going to get to that next. So, I mean, let's get to third period, I guess, and we can add to that.
Yeah. You missed a huge opportunity to say until we're Petty blue in the face. I just like to throw that out there.
You're right. I did. I certainly did. And
sorry, I just wanted to throw it out there.
You're right to point that out. You are very right to point that out. I did. I missed an opportunity to give another shout out to Richard, because obviously, that is the biggest name in NASCAR right now. So in terms of lore is concerned.
And you've got the Petty Blue shirt on from Marty and McGee's podcast, the 406, baby.
Yeah, it's a little bit lighter than that, but yeah, I hear you. My toes are Petty Blue. How about that?
There you go. What was I going to say? Oh, I was reading something earlier saying that Bubba's performance this year, if you compare year over year, it's much better than last year. And I'm wondering if Richard Petty's kind of seeing this as a slope and not like some sort of I don't know what the asymptote whatever horizontal. That we're not at some plateau here. So that would be really interesting. But third period, New Hampshire. We'll talk about the race this past week. CJ, what did you learn from New Hampshire?
I learned that 2020 is just not the year for two drivers that I expected to do pretty well, especially by, in July, early August. I really thought Kenseth in the 42 was going to be running better than he has so far this year. I know he had a break. I know that he had been out of the car for a while, but I really thought that we'd be seeing more out of him than we have so far. And Kyle Busch, man, it's just he wouldn't have any luck if not for bad luck. I don't know if that's the lack of qualifying. I don't know if that's the lack of practice, which is probably the most likely of what it is. But man, it's wild to see them struggle so hard.
Right. Sherwin, how about you?
I don't know that I could disagree in either place. What I'd say is I'm way less surprised that Kenseth in the 42 has been problematic, especially the last, I don't know, call it 7 of the last 4 weeks. Kyle is a little bit, I guess I'm not ready to totally just throw him, behind the wayside, because I feel like at some point they're going to figure that out. Mm-hmm. Like somehow, some way. I mean, Kyle just has a way of recovering from some of these things. And yeah, maybe he wants to practice. I mean, we know based on all the information that's available from all the different people who talk that, Clint really likes to practice too. And he's not been probably running as well as he would like to. So I'm not worried about Kyle. What I am worried about is throwing Chad Johnson to the wayside with Kenseth having the struggles that he's had, especially being out of the car as long as he has, and how much the car has changed since he ran full time. I think there's too many variables in there for us to go. I'm not sure what, I don't know that we can really pinpoint what the exact problem is. I guess we're going to find out if all of a sudden something changes with the way their promotion of the engineer to the crew chief spot. Maybe something changes. I don't know. We'll see. We're going to get some data, obviously. We're going to get 6 more races before we get to the playoffs to see if that makes a change at all. I guess I don't see it. I think what I would have preferred to see is something more along the lines of, let's get a driver in here that drives like Kyle Larson drives. And because you have one available in your stable. If you're Chip, you've got Justin Haley sitting right over there. He drove a sprint car. He drives the same way Kyle does. He wants to rim ride everywhere that he can. Okay, well, Kenseth doesn't drive that way. Kenseth drives a lot more like Kenseth or Harvick. He wants to be closer down by the line most of the time. Like he likes to drive a tight race car as opposed to Larson and Haley like to drive a loose race car. And some of those things matter in the way these cars drive now, depending on where the horsepower is and where we're going and what the downforce is. I'm not sure I'm ready to throw Chad Johnson to the wolves yet, because he and Larson had a good thing going there for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is too is, not that what a perfect storm for the 42 team as far as Kenseth goes, coming back after an absence into the first season in, ever, or especially modern history, where we just don't practice. Like, that's just not something we do anymore. Practice doesn't exist. Like, if there's anyone in the field that I think practice could really have been able to turn around the results that we've seen, that it would influence the most, it would be Kenseth. Because it's not a lot of practice. People think, it's the drivers getting out and getting to know the track or the car or something like that. I mean, how many starts? I mean, Kenseth's had 33, 34 starts at New Hampshire. He knows the track. It's so that the teams can also get the input for, tire pressures and for, to make the car the way their driver wants it. I really think with practice, we would be seeing a much different 2020 on Matt Kenseth, and not just because he needed practice, but because the team needed it too.
That's a good point, and I'll agree with you, Sherwin, in that Kyle Busch, I mean, he's sitting there in 10th place, and he's plenty, going to make the playoffs unless something wacko happens. So I think playoffs is when we're going to be able to see that, obviously. What they have either in the store or you've had the practice theory for a few weeks now, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. I think I'm also learning. I don't know if I was just not on board with it or just not believing it at every single racetrack that the Hamlin Harvick thing is so real. It's palpable. You can taste it. It's crazy how well they continue to do. And at this racetrack, where'd they end up? 2nd and 5th? I shouldn't be surprised, but I feel like it's, from here on in, I'm no longer surprised, but it's still, that's amazing to me what they're doing on the track.
Well, you think about this is going off base a little bit, but think about the tire issues. Like you've had 2 or 3 drivers that have had a lot to say about the tires. Those are the same 2 or 3 drivers that have trouble with tires every week. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not a widespread, it's not a pandemic, so to speak, about these tires and how these teams are setting these cars up. It's the same teams that are running into the same problems every week. And it's like, all right, well, why don't y'all learn something? Because these other teams are learning stuff, or they already knew stuff. I don't know which it is. Did they get lucky? You at this level, you do have to get lucky sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, in the NFL, games are won 23-21. Like there's got to be some luck involved in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, and it kind of feels lame too to say like, oh man, Kyle Busch is having a horrible season. I'm sure there are a lot of drivers in the field that would be very happy to be 10th in the playoff standings right now. He's not having and just to clarify, he's not having a bad season. He's having a bad Kyle Busch season. And so it's shocking to see, to to have a big three, if we even have one, to have Harvick, Hamlin, Keselowski, and Logano up there with multiple wins running so well. And Kyle Busch has yet to win a race this season. Like, when you think about that, that's crazy. We are in August, and Kyle Busch hasn't won a race.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what's driving him crazy is the fact that his teammates are doing pretty well. Two of them have won races, and he's usually the guy that's right there with them, if not ahead of them. And the other guys that are up there, we expect that to be the case. We expect Brad and Joey to be up there with multiple wins. I mean, Brad's working on 5 straight years of 3+ wins.
Yeah.
3 or more.
Yeah.
And he's Mr. Consistency in a lot of ways. Now, granted, they go about it a lot more cerebral way than some of the other guys do. Some do it on raw speed. Some do it on just saying, hey, we got a strategy plan that works for us, and we're just going to keep on doing that thing.
Yeah. And Kyle, I wonder how much, I mean, I know it's recent, but taking the Xfinity win away with the DQ, how much that changes anything. Maybe not, maybe nothing, but it's got to grind on him a little bit. That all said, Sherwin, you just talked about it. Brad winning comfortably, 3 wins so far this season, and puts a cherry on top with a 1-year extension with Penske. CJ, curious what you think about that. Any surprise in time length? And of course, Brad interviewed and everything and said that I found this interesting from him, from a guy who's kind of the insider from NASCAR and really gives a lot of thought to what he says and has a lot of, I would say, profound things to say. But he said the standard to reach the Cup Series has lowered significantly, and folks can come in and almost just be paying for a ride versus now you got to pay a driver for a ride. So the competition to even be in a car is so much stronger. But I was a little surprised that it was a 1-year extension for somebody like Brad. What do you think, CJ?
Well, I'm not the least shocking thing. I mean, there's not really anything to me that's shocking about it. The last race that I attended, the last race where I actually did hot pass shows, where we just kind of walk around the garage and I interact with fans in the chat while we're live streaming and that sort of thing. A lot of people in that comment section were seriously throwing out that they thought Brad Keselowski would go to the 48. And I never thought that was potentially something that could actually happen. He has been so consistently fast with Penske. I mean, I realize that there were probably a lot of teams that would love to have him. I mean, if I was a race team owner, I'd want Brad Keselowski to be part of my organization. It just seems like he elevates the entire team when he just has that knack about him. But he's winning with a new crew chief this year, and I am not shocked that he stayed with Penske. I think, to kind of loop around back to what we were talking about with LFR, I think for the time being, until we can start seeing, where the sponsorship dollars are going to go for all the teams, for all the organizations, I think 1-year deals are going to kind of be the norm for a little bit. I mean, even for someone that's done as well for a team as Brad Keselowski has for Team Penske, it's weird to see that it's just a 1-year extension, but I think that's more a result of the times that we're in than it is Roger Penske's faith in his driver or Brad's faith in his team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think Brad's making a very cerebral decision that today's market is not what he values his services as, and a 1-year deal with a little bit of solidarity going into next year, and the opportunity that potentially we get past some of these weird things that are going on this year, tell 2020 to go fly a kite. And if he has another one of his 3+ win years next year, he's gonna hold more value, assuming that all of a sudden, the alleviation of the pandemic causes more companies to want to be involved in the sport, noting that when we come back next year, if everybody's allowed to go back to the racetrack, these racetracks are probably going to be slammed. And they're going to have an immediate boom. Now, whether or not that is sustainable remains to be seen. It will remain to be seen, and it may not be. But what it will do is will increase the value of a driver of Brad's caliber. And now what we also don't know is we do know that Brad is a very cerebral driver. What we don't know is, does he have a line of sight to something that we're not aware of? And did he and Roger just get in a room and say, look, 1-year deal makes a lot of sense. You know, we're going to have to fight through this thing as we see it right now. We're obviously championship contenders. We're running well enough to be champions. And then, you know, we've seen plenty of guys leave after being championship contenders or winning a championship even to go to some other thing, whatever's next. And I think this is a really smart move by both parties to sign a 1-year deal and say, let's see what happens, you know, this time next year when silly season is really erupting again and you're trying to figure out, okay, what do I want to do next? Roger, what do you want to do? You want to pull Matt D into your camp? If you do, great. That's fine. I already have a line of sight to the next thing that I want to do, which we don't know what that is yet. We can speculate till we're petty blue in the face. And
my man,
I got it that time. But I think this is the right move for both parties. And I think they're both going to win as a result of it. And I don't expect for Brad to be a Penske driver beyond 2021. That's what I'll say.
Very interesting. Speaking of interesting, let's move to the playoffs. No change in terms of who's in or out after this last race in New Hampshire. Eric Jones and Jimmy Johnson switch places on the outside looking in, and Boyer and Burrito being a little bit more comfortable. We got 6 races left among 3 tracks, which is crazy with the Michigan double. I guess Daytona kind of counts as 2 separate tracks with the road course and the oval, and, of course, Double Dover coming up soon. So, CJ, do you see anybody on the outside looking in making waves or on the inside looking out, or any spoil sports?
I really think Jimmy Johnson gets in. I really do. I'll continue to say it, and I've said it for years, and I'm going to say it till the end of 2020. If you have a 7-time champion in a car that he has won 7 championships in the field, he's a threat. And we're going to a road course where none of the drivers have competed in a NASCAR stock car ever. They're getting no practice. They're getting no chance to be able to figure out the course, to figure out what you got to do. I think Jimmy Johnson, I mean, think about it, about how good Jimmy's been at the Roval and how many, think about, we saw him get so close to winning that Roval race. I really think we could see Jimmy Johnson doing something special at the Daytona road course coming up soon. But I'm not sure. I don't know exactly if he, wins his way in or if he points his way in, but I think Jimmy Johnson makes it to the playoffs.
I think so. Last week, I think I picked Jimmy as him being on the bubble to be one who comes in. I feel less confident today about that. Although the Daytona road course, you've made some really good points that we shouldn't write him off ever, but especially right now with something that they might be looking at the chops. Sherwin.
Yeah, I think. There's no reason to count unhatched chickens, but I guess maybe just as a fan, I would certainly love Jimmy to be in. I think his ability to drive any kind of vehicle ever over the course of his racing career is going to lend its hand to racing on a road course nobody's ever seen before. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Jimmy's ever turned any laps in an IMSA car. I suspect he probably has, whether we know it or not. I would say if I had to pick between those 3 guys that are in and 3 guys that are out, I would say Jimmy replaces Byron.
Yeah, I mean that
especially with 2 Dovers back to back.
Yeah, and that looks to be the. Obviously Byron is the closest to the line right now, but Boyer and Burrito, they're plus 40, plus 43. So, they've built on that a little bit, almost to the point that there's a whole race. So you either got to pick them off over the next 6 races or you got to win. But with Byron being just 15, that's something that, you can make up in a race, depending on what happens. So, I would.
Well, I would say, you give Jimmy what is it going to be, a 300-mile race on Saturday at Dover to practice. and then a 300-mile race on Sunday where he is Mr. Dover, I'd say that's his shot. That he needs to make good on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They did
I'm
release.
so excited about the road course, though. By the way, I don't know if that's gonna not to derail us here real hard, but I don't know if that's gonna be absolute pandemonium. You get some of these trucks guys out there with no practice. I mean, in some of these, not that we don't have incredibly skilled competitive race car drivers in the truck series. We do. I love the truck series, but a lot of them are younger. A lot of them are still making their way up in the sport. And to put them on a road course with zero practice, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, man, that seems like it's going to be a lot.
Well, they released on, I think it was on iRacing or some simulator, the actual layout, because it's a little bit different layout than they've used before. And along the oval, I think there were 2 chicanes. So that's going to be wild and crazy. There's a pretty long straightaway inside the road course. And then what really got my blood pumping was the transition going back to the oval, not coming out of the oval, but going back to the oval. That's on a part of the track that's fairly significant, it looks like. If there's 2 cars side by side, who knows what they're going to do when they transition back onto the oval.
Well, the speeds are going to be... Yeah, the speeds are going to be very interesting, and that's why they added that front chicane. And I love this because I was having a Twitter conversation with somebody, and they're like, "What do you think the front chicane looks like, and where are they going to put it? Because it can't be in the transition because the transition is huge. It's 33 degrees." And I said, "Oh, I think it's going to be right here." And I drew exactly how I thought it would be, which is exactly congruent to the Charlotte front chicane. Just obviously it's on a bigger track, and that's exactly how they built it. The only thing I thought was maybe if you're going to pit under green, you'd be allowed to wave behind you and say I'm pitting and blow the chicane, and then have a line come up a little bit shorter where you have to hit pit road speed a little bit shorter than you would on the big course under a standard restricted race. I don't think they're going to do that. Doesn't look like that's what they're going to do. But they built it the same way they built the Charlotte, which means a very shallow entry and a very steep exit, because they want to scrub about 30 to 45 miles an hour off of the speed, because they don't want these guys hitting 220, which is what they would do if they didn't have that chicane.
Right. Yeah.
And nobody's making that corner to turn into the infield at 230 miles an hour. That's not happening.
One thing, too, is I'm not sure that we'll have to really worry about green flag pit stops.
I don't think we will either, but even if there was only one, it would get messy.
Right?
Yeah, it's going to be. I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Fifth period, Jesse Iwuji, PTM alum, making his Xfinity debut at Road America in a car owned by Carl Long. I thought that was pretty cool. Carl Long being, the old school road course ringer back when we had those things. And then Jesse Iwuji jumping in a car at Road America. Happy for him. And, he's beyond excited. He was so much fun to talk to back. I mean, it's got to be over 100 episodes ago at this point. But then, alongside that, just interviews with him, and he's all excited and pumped and ready to go. So I missed out on, I think my Jesse Iwuji shirt is dirty. It's in the laundry pile, but otherwise I'd be wearing that today. That was pretty cool, Sherwin.
Yeah, well, not just that, but Sean Merriman is still involved with that. He's the all-pro defensive lineman out of San Diego Chargers, now LA Chargers. He's a part of that program too still.
That's cool.
So he's an investor in that program with Jesse.
That's cool. And then, this goes back to the whole not just diversity for the sake of it, but getting more fans into the sport and everything. This is a great inroad to that, both in the U.S. Naval U.S. Naval stuff, the football fans and stuff. I love it. We'll see how he does, but I think it's really cool to see. I did not know this one, y'all. Today we are wishing happy 49th birthday to Jeff Gordon. And at the same time, we're wishing happy 42nd birthday to Kurt Busch. How about that? Both August 4th, 7 years apart.
And Vince Welsh, his birthday's today too.
Yeah.
Hey, way to go, Vince! Happy birthday to Vince. There's a couple of two celebrities us there, but yeah, happy birthday to everybody who's got a birthday today.
Right on. So yeah,
it's a good month for it. Mine's the 27th.
I'll tell you
27th.
27th. There we go.
Yep.
I will feel old when Jeff Gordon is 50 because, of course, and I'm sure the NASCAR fandom at large will as well, having remembered and seemingly like yesterday, as we all say, him with his trash stash jumping out of the rainbow ride. so be it.
Yeah, the the Wonder Boy hitting 50. Yeah, that's a little wild.
Right.
Yeah, we'll all have to celebrate with an adult milk. So maybe a White Russian.
There you go.
Finally.
There you go. CJ, we've been talking about
it's just crazy, and not to be morbid, but one thing that I thought about, it's Jeff Gordon being the same age that Dale Earnhardt was when we unfortunately lost him. That was just kind of something that hit me. I mean, You always think of Dale Earnhardt, the old man, the veteran, the legend, and then the young Jeff Gordon. That kind of threw me for a loop today when I thought about that.
Wow,
TJ just brought it way down.
No, that's like one of those stats that can't be a stat. Like that's wild to think about.
Well, just to think about the fact that they're like 18 years apart in age.
Yeah,
is nuts because they were fierce competitors at the time, and they were 2 decades apart in terms of age.
Yeah. How crazy. What was I going to say about it? Oh, we've been talking with each of our guests the last 3 weeks about this whole SRX thing. So, CJ, what's your hot take on SRX? I looked. They released a car design. I don't know if you saw that, but that is a sexy looking car, to be honest. It's kind of IMSA-like.
It's got that Dodge Daytona rear end on it, or that wingy thingy.
Yeah, that wing that starts down at the bottom of the quarter panel. It's crazy.
I will continue. So I have on my desk at work, I have a Dale Jr. call. Remember those things?
Yes.
The Mountain
engine.
Jr., the Mountain Dew. I have one of those on my desk at work, and it'll come to the cave whenever I finally get to go back to my cube. It'll come home. But Ray Abraham was at Hendrick Motorsports one day, and we had I forget what we had. We had a media event or something like that. And I was there, and then one of my friends that works at Hendrick told me that there were Dale calls in the gift shop at Hendrick Motorsports. So I talked to Ray for a second at the media thing, and then I went straight to the gift shop to go get my Dale call. And I guess Ray's office is somewhere local. I guess, or maybe it was, or he has an office somewhere around the same building or in the building as the gift shop. And he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I got by a Dale call." And he was like, "You want one of those things?" Like he was just kind of making fun of it or laugh. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put it on my desk." He went over and grabbed it off the rack and handed it to me, and just kind of nodded at the person behind the counter or whatever. I mean, I could have bought it. I feel bad getting something for free from a race team, but he just handed it to me. So I tell you that story to say, if Ray Abraham wants to do something, I'll be a fan of it.
I love it.
He could make it tricycle racing. And if Ray Abraham believed in the tricycle races and thought it would be entertaining, I'd be like, "Let's do tricycles. I'm down."
Yeah. I think Rusty and I would be the same way, having, sort of grown up in our NASCAR fandom as Casey fans with Ray, carrying the flag with that deal. So, yeah, I'd love to meet Ray. I haven't had a chance to do it yet. I hope that happens.
That was the one time. He didn't know me from Adam. He just knew I was there working. I had my Fox shirt on. He thought it was funny that I was going to buy something. And he took it down off the rack, handed it to me, nodded at the person behind the counter. And I was just like, I didn't even know what it meant. I was just like, "Thanks." And I went to pay for it because I'm a dork and nervous around NASCAR. And I was like, "No," he was like, "I got you." And I was just like, "Okay." And that's really one of my only interactions with him ever. He's Ray Abraham. I'm just a social guy. But it was, Ray's a good dude. I was a fan, and Light would have said almost the same thing before that day, but after that, I'm like, he's a good dude. Anything he wants to do, I'm down.
I love the
Ray
Grand
and
Theft.
Rick have a body off restoration project company that they've been working on. So I'm not shocked that he has an office there at the Hendrick complex.
I love the grand theft stealing from your own store thing.
It was either he had
give you the.
It was pretty cool.
We're all talking over each other.
Had some lag. Sorry about that.
You're all good. Okay. What were you saying there, CJ?
Oh, it's just that whenever he gave me the Dell call and everything, like when I took it back to the desk, I almost didn't open it just because of the story. And but I was saying his office, he probably has 2 or 3 offices because he's Ray Everhand, but he was working on something there that day in the gift shop.
That's that's great. So let's move on. We're going to gas it up. Going to Michigan. Here it is. Well, if all Rusty can get his sound stuff going, there it is. All right, Michigan double. I think the quote unquote gimmick for this weekend is that there's no gimmick. It's 400-kilometer races, both of them, 312 miles, 156 laps. We run a race, and, hey, get up, boys, start right over. We're not doing a different course. We're not doing a different number of miles. We are straight up having 2 races. CJ, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I mean, just we'll make sure everybody remembers that the Michigan weekend actually starts Friday at 6 o'clock on FS1. We've got trucks, and trucks will be with us all year. So, of course, when there's a race on our network, I got to make sure I promote it. Trucks are always fun in Michigan, so I'm looking forward to that. And the main thing I'm looking forward to is seeing if we can get out of Michigan without Kevin Harvick having 5 wins and Denny Hamlin having 5 wins. Because if I had to be a betting man, if I had to make a bet, that's what I would bet on. That either Harvick sweeps them, Hamlin sweeps them, or they both take one, or they both take 1 of 2.
Ooh. Very interesting. And we'll get to picks in a moment.
I mean, I don't think anybody can beat them right now.
Yeah.
You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole. To evoke some Big Lebowski.
Sherwin, what are you thinking?
I think as fast as he's been all year, and for somehow, some way,
don't make picks yet. I'm just talking about the weekend.
Huh?
I was saying don't make picks yet, but just talking about the weekend.
I think I did that. I'm sorry. That was my fault.
Oh, yeah, I got distracted. Thanks a lot, CJ. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, not bad.
I think the thing I'm happiest about is A, I like doubleheaders a lot, and B, our friend Brandon Crowd up from Lap Traffic up in Detroit is being allowed to have a media pass this weekend.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So he's going to get to go to the race.
Good for him. And go to hell.
I think but Saturday race, I think it's just a Saturday race, but he's going to get to go to one of them.
Yeah, that's great.
That's cool.
That's great. I am infinitely jealous. But no, that's cool. All right, fellas, let's do it. Let's make some picks. CJ, are you picking? I think for these double headers, Sherwin, in the past, we have picked like one, rock solid pick of the century deal, and then one like, hey, this guy might sneak in there. Look out. Or you can do whatever you want. This is the podcast, right? So, CJ, what do you got for us?
I do not think we get to Monday without the 4 team having 5 wins. I think one of the two. They're on such a roll right now, and I've always jinxed Harvick so hard because it's probably, looking at my room behind me, it's probably not that much of a secret now. I'm a little bit of a Harvick fanboy. I've just always liked that 2.9 and that 4 car. So I think Harvick wins either Saturday or Sunday, but I also think if I'm not picking Hamlin, which I think if Harvick doesn't win, Hamlin probably gets it because it's Michigan. They've done so well on those tracks leading up to it. I think we could see Kyle Busch bounce back at Michigan. I really think we could see the fire under him's obviously lit. He was so frustrated after he crashed out last weekend. I think that conversations with the crew chief, conversations with the team, I think hopefully that'll refocus them. I think we could see Kyle Busch win one of the two as well.
We got Harvick and we got Kyle Busch. Sherwin, last week,
those are my two.
Last week, Brandon Brown picked Truex And then he said Hamlin and Harvick will be fast. Well, Truex finished third, Hamlin second, Harvick fifth. I think he was dialed in on those picks. I went out on a limb and picked Kenseth, who finished DFL +1. And you picked Blaney, who ended up 20th. So looks like I have the reins at this point for this one. So I'm going to make another pick that totally has no bearing on anything because apparently I suck at this stuff. So I'll just go ahead and call something crazy. I think Brad has a double in his short future. Brad for Saturday. And, I should box him so that, if I can get Brad for either one. But I feel strong that there's a double coming here. And my lookout for Sunday, Mr. Burrito has been making some consistency that's got him further into the playoffs at this point. So, I'd be on the lookout there. So I'm going Brad and Matt DiBenedetto. Sherwin, you're up.
So are we having to attach a pick to a particular day or just two picks for the weekend? Doesn't matter which race.
I will say it does not matter which race. Go ahead and box me two in.
Okay, so yours are boxed.
Well, mine. Here's the thing. I want to be novel, and so I'm calling I'm pointing to the outfield and calling Brad for Saturday. But that's just because I'm wacko. But let's go ahead and box them.
Okay, cool. I'm good with that. I am going to pick two guys that have been incredibly fast, have finished very well, have led lots of races, and won various and sundry stages. So I'm going to box Eric Amarola and Ryan Blaney.
I love the Amarola pick. He's on the cusp of something amazing with that team. And Blaney, I believe, that's who you picked last week. So doubling down on that one, make it or I was going to say make it take it, but that's not what I'm trying to say. Either way.
Blaney was in a good position for a long time last weekend, and then I don't know what the hell happened at the end, but we had 9,784 cautions in the last stage. So,
that'll throw a wrench in it. Gentlemen, it is time to shut this thing down for the evening. CJ, it's been awesome as usual. I feel like we could sit here and talk for another, half an hour and have plenty of content. But we'll leave the people wanting some more. Tell the folks what's going on, where they can find you.
The number, and not to do a shameless plug, but I honestly do believe in it, and I think it's cool, and I'm very proud to have been a small part of it. If you are a sports fan, and I assume that's because you're watching this show that you happen to like sports a little bit, you should download the new official Fox Sports app. It's really cool. It has all the best stories about sports from around the internet. All of Bob's stuff goes to the Fox Sports app. The Fox Sports website has been updated as well, but the app is just so cool. The look of it, the user interface of it is a really fun experience. You can like and favorite your favorite drivers, teams, leagues. That's really cool. It's got leaderboards and results from every race, upcoming races. And the cool thing about it is you can stream TV subscribers. Like if you're a subscriber to FS1, Fox, that sort of thing, you log in with the same credentials you use to pay your cable bill or your satellite bill. You can watch all Fox games, races, shows, everything in one place. The new Fox Sports app's really cool.
Love it. Love it. And, of course, on Twitter, at NASCAR on Fox and at CJ Walliver. Sherwin, tell the folks where they can find us, and we'll close this thing out.
Yeah, you can find us at PTM Podcast on both the Twitter and the Instagram. You can find me at Andrew L. Sherwin on Instagram and Daryl Sweetwater III, Andrew Sherwin at Pregame Engineer on Twitter.
Awesome. Well, fellas, appreciate CJ being on. It's been a great Tuesday. We'll be back again next week. Can't wait to see y'all, like Sherwin said, at PTM Podcast, ptmpodcast.com, and all the places where you can consume your podcast. Hope to see y'all next week. Thanks for hanging out. Take us away, Sydney. gentlemen, that is a wrap on the show and live on YouTube still hanging out. But yeah, good times.
Bravo's won 10-1.
Is this for me now?
What was that, CJ?
Is this 7? Is this my 7th time on the show? How many is this for me?
Multi-time PTM PhD. I would have to look it up. I have no idea.
It's either 7 or 8. It's somewhere around.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm proud of that number. What'd you say? What was the score?
10-1 Braves.
All right.
All game over with.
Finally. I feel like so I usually get the Braves update when I get in the elevator in the morning because there's a thing that shows sports scores, and I feel like I'm disappointed every morning. So tomorrow morning I will be happy to be reminded again of that score.
Yeah, Braves are actually playing well. Lost Soroka to Achilles tendon tear last night, so that sucks. But we'll see how it goes.
You had the new Fox Sports app. You could favorite the Braves and all your Georgia teams and all that sort of stuff. It does look really cool though, not to be super cheesy about it or whatever, but it's a lot of fun. I have it.
I have it on my phone. I just need to. I need to turn on Do they do notifications for your teams and stuff? That's what I need to turn on.
Yeah. You can set that up. Yep, you can set that up. There's just a tab that says scores, and actually, I love it, NASCAR's on there, so the scores are basically just this person won, but it's when the race is going on, there's leaderboard, and you can click on it for more of that sort of thing.
Gotcha.
People are asking me to sing in the comments. I'm not going to do that to y'all.
Acapella is one thing that's tough to do. You get the syrup in them boys, and then stick them out in the infield at Talladega, and you're definitely going to hear some belting.
Well, especially with a little bit of auto.
Why are you in North Carolina? Are you in North Carolina? I just realized,
I'm moving to North Carolina.
Nice.
Yeah.
New job? That's the thing?
Yep, new job.
That's
I'll be
awesome. Great, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll be working in Statesville, and I'm planning to move to Mooresville.
Okay, cool. Well, you got to swing by Kannapolis sometime whenever my karaoke bar that's on the Kannapolis Concord line opens back up. We'll have to get. It's a Michi's Bar and Grill. It's a great place. We'll have to go, man.
That sounds good to me.
Yep. Glad to have you.
That's that's awesome. And I feel like karaoke bar is kind of in your future there, CJ, in a retirement job or whatever it is. Take all that Fox Sports money from the app and everything and open up a karaoke bar.
Hey, it wasn't necessarily karaoke. I mean, I'd sing a lot, but it wasn't I didn't have the screen with the lyrics and stuff. CJ's Entertainment was my first work for myself job. I used to DJ weddings and stuff in college.
Oh, cool.
That was basically how I got I worked for gas money and stuff. It was a lot of fun. I had speakers and a mixing board and 3,000 MP3s. We had a lot of fun back in the day.
Oh man. Do you have any stories from the wedding days? Any either something that went south or bridezilla or
or old school
yodeling?
See the fucking look in your eye, turn around, the brown eyes.
There was one time at a wedding that the mom of the bride offered me $500 to go home with her.
Oh my gosh!
I did.
Why did you not accept that?
It felt
that
weird,
seems like
man.
a good payday, man.
I mean, for the story.
It was, I assume it was $500 because that was the only actual number she said, but she was certainly offering me money.
Wow.
Well, hopefully Mama Wooliver's not too disappointed in
she
there.
She knew the story. I told her that day that happened. Yeah.
She was probably why the hell did you take that payday?
Oh man.
Yeah.
CJ, you are they taking you anywhere, or are you just quarantined for the rest of the season?
I'm probably, things could change, but It looks like right now my next race will probably be the 500.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is heartbreaking. But I went to the first 4, and I'm lucky enough to be able to do that. And there were plenty of seasons where I didn't go to 4 races in it. So I did the full West Coast swing, the 500, and I'll be ready for it February when it comes back around.
We're gonna be ready for that ISC swing that goes around the southeast next year because we got our hookup now. We're going
nice.
Richmond, Martinsville, Darlington. We might just be media all up in that some gun.
Nice. Yeah, man. When they raced at Bristol, that's the first Bristol race I've missed since 2005, something like that.
Yeah,
like not being there at all. I've missed a couple cup races because I had to work or but I'd go for the trucks or the Xfinity. There hasn't been a NASCAR weekend at Bristol that I wasn't there for at least a day since 2005. It broke my heart, man.
Dang.
Well, you longer than us, but I mean, I hadn't missed one since 2008 in August, and Rusty hadn't missed one with me since 2009.
I hadn't missed an Atlanta race other than rainouts, but we were there before the rainout. But since 2004, that was the first one.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Yep, it was.
And, I'm gonna head out of here in just a second. But everybody that's watching, please wear a mask. It's so easy. It's so simple. We can get out of this if everybody wears one. Just wear a mask, everybody. It's so simple. It protects you. It protects other people. And check this out. Wait, I got a new cool one. Look, I got a.
Oh, nice. The branded one.
Fox, man. Yeah, man.
My wife makes
Everybody
them.
wear your mask. You can make them stylish and cool.
My wife makes them.
There you go.
She's got me a fish mask, and she's got me a checkered flag mask. So I'm toting those around. So I dig it. It's a good way too to show off the fashion. I'm digging.
Exactly. I like it. But thank you guys so much for having me on again.
It's awesome.
No problem.
Great
man.
to see you.
Always appreciate it.
We're going to cut off the YouTube stream as well. So thank you, YouTubers, for hanging out. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next week.
See you guys
next.